Welcome to Science for 50. Please open your books and notebooks. Today we're going to see how plants reproduce. Copy this title on your notebook. Now, plants can be sorted or classified in many ways. But to simplify and understand it, let's see. If a plant doesn't produce seeds and doesn't have roots, it's called a mosaic. But if it doesn't make seeds but have roots, it's called a fern. Now, plants that produce seeds but don't have flowers are called conifers. And plants that produce seeds and produce flower are called flowering plants. And that we will study today. But first, let's see the parts of a flower. We have the most beautiful part and attractive one, that is the petal. But there's more to see. There are other two main parts inside a flower. We have the stamen, which are these little tubes here with the yellow heads, and a main tube here called the stigma. These are the reproductive part of a flower. One is male, one is female. One produces pollen that is received in the stigma. Inside it goes directly to the ovary of our flower. Inside the ovary, there is an ovule. If the pollen and the ovule found together, they fuse to create a seed. This seed will eventually transform into something more, but for that, we will see that later. First, copy this diagram on your notebook. Now, let's see with somebody who's an expert with flowers. A bee. Bees love flowers. They know that a flower is ready when they have beautiful colors on their petals. But what would bees look for is the pollen. Now, our little friend here explained us how the pollen gets inside the stigma to transform into something more. Like what? Like a seed. Now, can pollen travel? Yes, it can. Sometimes flowers don't have both reproductive parts. And this is where little friends like bees help us. Well, help flowers. They travel plant to plant, flower to flower, carrying pollen for them, but some of the flower is fallen inside another flower. But how animals are attracted to flower? Well, flower produce good sweet smell that it's attractive for animals like the bee. And the bee is not a slave. The bee receives a benefit. For example, they use pollen to make honey. You can see here how a pollen cell gets inside the stigma, enters the ovule to pollinate a ovary, and this begins the process of life. These two cells fuse to make a new seed. On the right, you can see how The plant protects the seed, developing a fruit. This is to protect the seed for predators, or in some cases for something else. Pay attention here. Look, after the flower is open, it's pollinated, creates the seed, and develops a protective layer to protect the seeds. In this case, the bellows of yummy strawberry. Now, let's resume. An adult plant produces a flower. Pollination and fertilization take place inside the flower, sometimes with the help of animals like bees and butterflies. Each ovule within the flower's ovary contains a fertilized egg. Petals and stamen fall away after the flower is pollinated. Each ovule becomes a seed, and the ovary becomes a fruit. When the fruit ripens, the seeds are dispersed, mostly by animals and people. And each seed contains a tiny plant. If a seed sprouts, it begins to grow, and it will become a new plant, and the process continues over and over and over again. Interesting, isn't it? Copy on your notebook. That's all for today. See you next time.